Good afternoon and welcome back, ladies, gents and Pikachus, to another video about the Quran of the Muslims. But we're not going to be reading it. What I wanted to talk to you about is Allah's paradise garden, and if we put together all the pieces of information he has given us in the verses we've read so far, we can build up a picture of what his paradise garden looks like, what features it has, and how you will reach it, O Muslims. So let's go through some of those. So to start with, I think it's worth saying Allah makes it very plain that his paradise garden will be your final destination. He says he is the journey's end for all Muslims, and he will be the king of that place. So from the start, what we know from that is when you reach this paradise garden, O Muslims, Allah will be there. That's where he lives. Allah is the king of the paradise garden, which will be your final destination. And that means at the end of your life, if you are to reach this paradise garden, you will be stuck there for the rest of time along with Allah, and he will be your king. You will be subservient to him. So even though you live a life of servitude, once you reach the paradise garden, nothing will change for you. You'll still be in servitude once you arrive there. And the important thing to remember is Allah actually says, and I quote, "I will control you from the darkest depths." So when you think paradise garden, you might think Eden, as in the Eden of heaven, which the beginning of the book describes, God's Eden. But that isn't the paradise garden which Allah is offering you, O Muslim. And it can't be, because he specifically says, "I will control you from the darkest depths, where I will drag you down to be companions of evil fire." So what we know is the darkest depths is the paradise garden. So it's an underground cave, it's a subterranean cave filled with fire, without moisture or without life. And it's decorated with the skulls of the non-believers, who are still alive, hanging on the wall, burning in ever fire. That's how he describes it. He describes how their flesh will be constantly regenerating as it's burning away. So the background sound for his paradise garden is going to be the screams of the non-believers. Now think about this, Muslims. Is this what you want? Do you really want to spend your life slaving for this guy, and then end up as your final destination, where you will have to spend the rest of time in an underground cave filled with fire, which is decorated by the skulls of the non-believers, who are like dead zombies hanging on the wall, screaming forever in pain, unable to unhang themselves or do anything about it? And your only other companions are going to be Muslim men or enslaved pure virgins, who, by the way, once you have attended to a pure virgin one time, they're no longer a pure virgin, they're just a regular old slave woman. So what do we know so far about Allah's final destination garden? Well, we know it doesn't sound like a very pleasant place in which to live. We know that it is mainly populated by non-believers hanging on the wall, being tortured and screaming, so it's not going to be a very serene, peaceful place. We know that it has many women there, pure virgins, and 72 of these each are to be your bounty, but they're not going to stay as pure virgins for very long. In fact, once you've used them a few times, they're going to be just regular slave women. So what we know about Allah's paradise garden is it's filled with slavery, it's filled with torture, it has no other signs of life, no plants or animals will be able to exist there, because it is existing in ever fire, this furious evil fire, and that's how he describes it, an evil fire. So your only real company is to be Allah and the non-believers hanging on the walls being tortured. He goes on to say, "All the men lay dead, all the women are in chains at the end times, at the end of his genocidal end times prophecy." So that's how we know your virgins are going to be enslaved. They're not going to be, even though they're pure and virtuous from day one, they're in chains, they're slaves, they're not free. This is not going to be like Earth. Then he goes on to say, "You will be caused to travel through the earth to reach your final destination, of which I am your Lord." So we know it is not the paradise garden in heaven that he's describing here, because if you are on the surface like you are now, and you travel upwards to get to the paradise garden, you don't have to travel through earth. Yet Allah makes the point of telling you, you will be caused to travel through the earth. So you're on the surface now, above you is sky, and below you is ground. You're having to travel through the earth downwards. You're travelling downwards to this paradise garden. So let's summarise what we've got so far. We've got Allah in the darkest depths in a subterranean cave filled with torture, slavery and pain, devoid of life, surrounded by evil fire, with nothing to be heard but the screams of pain of the tortured non-believers who you've already killed, who are hanging on the wall burning. Everyone there is a slave. You're a slave of Allah's subservience and Islam's obedience, and the women there are slaves of you, in chains, unable to speak, to be unvirginized one time and then for the rest of time just being regular slave girls. And you know that it is synonymous with Satan's hell because you're having to travel deep below the earth in order to access this place. And once you get there, it's your final destination. If you don't like it, you're stuck with it. You're going to be there for the rest of time. The last thing he says is, "My domain will be a fiercely burning everfire for which there will be no escape." Now think about it. Why would you want to condemn yourself to this place? Okay, yeah, it's got 72 slave virgins. Some people like that kind of thing. But that's nothing that you can't already have on Earth. You can find women who like that kind of thing here. You could probably find 72 virgins on the Earth. And then when you got bored of them later, you could leave and live a normal life. But Allah's description of his paradise garden is being a king of slaves and torture and pain. So in conclusion, do we think that Allah, after hearing the description that he himself will give to his paradise gardens, of which he will be the king, where he drags people down to exist forever, do we think this guy sounds good? Do we think this sounds like a good god? Or do we think this guy perhaps sounds like a demon kind, Satan, who lives in the darkest depths, who controls his companions with an everlasting evil fire, who decorates the walls of his subterranean cave, which has no life in it, with the undead souls and bodies of the non-believers who you killed in life in order to get there? I hope you know what you're doing, O Muslims, when you work towards creating this place with the blood of us non-believers and then condemning yourselves to it for the rest of eternity. Because eternity is an awfully long time when you have no humanity and you are destined to be an everlasting spirit creature in a place such as this. Whereas we don't have to worry about that. No other religion has this place. Even the Christian hell doesn't sound quite as bad as that, because even though it is like that, you do have a chance for redemption. Through Christ you can be redeemed even at that point. But not from Allah's paradise garden. So in summary, Allah and his paradise garden, to me at least, based on the description in the Quran of the Muslims, sounds exactly like the Egyptian hell, which is the Catholic version of hell, and Satan's version of hell is very similar. So that is the direction you're heading in. That's your final destination with Allah as your Lord, trapped forever in burning fire, surrounded by the souls of the undead, unable to leave, and you're still going to be a slave of Allah. So just think about that. You could either have that, or you could redeem yourself, live a good life, and go to God's paradise garden above the clouds in heaven, where everything is beauty and truth and freedom, and there's no skulls decorating the place. You know, the decor's a little bit more bright to look at. There's life there, there's enjoyment, there's freedom there. Maybe you would prefer that. That's just all I wanted to say to you. So that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed that and you learned something. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Well, I have to say, it doesn't sound much like fun to me, based on my reading, but there we are. Muslims, you have the free choice to choose to go there or not. So anyway, that's the end of the video. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Bye bye bye.